Hello everyone, and welcome to the JBUTT. That's right, we are making the world's first 20-year-long movie discussion. You know, going into this movie was quite an experience, because I'm gonna be honest with you folks. Leading up to the release of this film, I took a trip down Chud Gone Alley. I lived with the Chuds. I fed with them, bathed with them, loved some of them. And basically, through everything that I watched, I wasn't sure how to feel about this movie going into it. Was it going to suck? Whether through the casting choices, whether through the accents used, whether through the runtime. Because let's be real, who the fuck needs to make a 3-hour movie, let alone have an entire filmography consist of them? And I am here today to answer the question, folks. Was this the gayest, blackest movie to ever release? No, it was actually really good. The Odyssey follows the story of Odysseus, king of Ithaca, who after winning the Trojan War decides, why not take a shortcut home? What's the worst that could happen? Which leads into the greatest, most trying journey of his entire life. Whether it be through hungry cyclops, horny sirens, the wrath of the gods themselves, or most importantly, bearing the weight of his own decisions. And I really enjoy the portrayal of Odysseus in this movie, because from the get-go, he did not want to go to Troy. You can see it on his face when he gets the news that he has to go to war. His face is swollen, red, eyes filled with tears as he's told and then given a hug, because even the commander knows, like, yeah, you're gonna die, buddy. And that's a running plot throughout the movie, is that Odysseus is way over his head in this ocean. The moment he first sees the Cyclops and the camera is just panning down on his face as he looks up in complete abject horror at this monstrosity that he thought wasn't even possible, it creates really good tension. All of Odysseus's journey, I was on the edge of my seat. Every new threat that they found genuinely felt dangerous. It felt terrifying. You're watching as these men that he cares about are dying left and right, and all he can do is watch. Not only that, I'm willing to say that Matt Damon brilliantly portrayed Odysseus and the inner struggle that he was dealing with. Now, I'm not saying it was a perfect performance all the way through. We'll talk about some scenes later, but overall, I never would have expected this kind of performance out of him. And it's only because of how much I enjoyed everything with Odysseus that other aspects stood out all the more. For you see, folks, there is not just one storyline in the Odyssey, but deux. Storyline number 2 focuses on Telemachus, Odysseus' son, who while his father is away, has to figure out how to get rid of these pesky suitors. Everyone in town wants to bane my mom. What is a boy to do in this situation? And I don't know if it's just because Telemachus himself is a weak character, which he is, because within the context of the movie, he gets his ass beat by everyone that he faces. Spoilers, even at the end, when he only kills one person in the whole movie, and it's a guy who is known as a rat coward with loud shoes that a blind man is able to best at one point. And let me get this straight. It's not, Tom Holland doesn't beat him easily. This guy kicks Telemachus's ass. Nearly kills him before he lucks out and does the Arya Stark spin around maneuver. His character really could have either used a much better actor or just less screen time. Because Tom Holland, dude, he was a good Spider-Man. I'll give him that. He's in my top 3 live-action Spider-Man. Speaking of which, I just couldn't stop hearing the Peter Parker voice every time he spoke. Maybe it's because he's a 45-year-old man, especially when you put him against somebody like Robert Pattinson, who is a genuinely good actor. He's acting Tom Holland to the ground every scene that they're in together. Now, I think it's time to talk about the more controversial casting choices, the ones everyone are talking about. Let's start with Elliot Page as Sinon. And I found Sinon to be such an interesting character, not because Elliot Page did particularly good or bad in the role, but because I couldn't help but feel like the movie became weirdly comedic every time Sinon was on screen. From the movie starts with Sinon being killed by just a ridiculously large spear. It is a 20-foot long log tree of a spear that pins Sinon into the Trojan horse and sets off the events of the movie. And I chuckled a bit at that. But then you get to the scene where later he goes, Odysseus goes to the underworld or whatever and summons his dead men, and Sinon is the one that he ends up talking to. And this is honestly the funniest dialogue within the whole movie. It just seems so out of place compared to the seriousness and weight that the rest of the movie is carrying. And I can't tell what it is. I think the dialogue is just, there's a scene where Sinon is telling Matt Damon, yeah, you know, all of the other dead soldiers were telling me that you're kind of an asshole. And Matt Damon just looks and says, what? Which of the soldiers were talking about me? Or in that exact same exchange, they're talking and Sinon's like, yeah, you lied to me. You made me believe the Trojan was empty, blah, 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 blah. And Matt Damon's like, what? Sinon, I was there the whole time. When you got pinned to the horse, I was with you. I smelled your blood as you died. I was in the horse. And Sinon just looks at him crazy and says, how is that supposed to make me feel better? And it was like out of a sitcom. It became a comedy every time Sinon was on screen. And that was a strange thing I noticed with a lot of the characters in this movie, where it just felt like they were playing. Tom Holland felt like he was playing Peter Parker. Mia Goth just felt like she was playing Pearl. Elliot Page just felt like he was playing his character from Umbrella Academy and having sibling banter with Matt Damon. Lupita Nyong'o felt like she was playing her character from Us half the time. And because of it, there was a huge inconsistency in how invested I felt throughout the movie, to where everything with Odysseus, I was all for. That's S+ tier. That's some good shit. Everything without Odysseus, that's when it starts to drag. It starts to make your mind wander, which is not a good thing because this movie is so goddamn long. And despite these issues I had, they were pretty small grievances compared to what is overall a really good movie. I think this, for me, is the ultimate Odyssey. If somebody wants to know the story of the Odyssey, I would just tell them to watch this movie. You know, I tried reading the book myself leading up to this movie. I got one page in. You know, very wordy book, the Odyssey is. Very wordy. A lack of pictures that I just could not keep up with. Which is why I give the Odyssey an official, absolutely go and check it out in theaters. I didn't see it in the, Max RPX or IMAX or anything, but I think it might be worth paying to see it in one of those higher quality screens. It's that good of a movie. It all looked incredible. I was so impressed at how good this movie looked. All the scenery, all of the props, all of the monsters. It's a beautiful movie. I was in awe more than a few times watching this. Out of 10. Thanks for watching, everybody.